My guest is Laura Southall, and we're going to talk about setting financial goals today. Well, that sounds dry.
That's not dry to me.
Not dry to you. Actually, when you think about it, it's really not. If it's your goal, it's kind of fun.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun. Really, when you're setting financial goals, you should think about the life that you would like to have and then what could get you there. So think about your ideal life. Would you like to be mortgage free? Would you like to go on a vacation once a year? Would you like to pay for your kids' education? What would be your ideal? And then from there, you should pick not more than 3 and maybe just one financial goal. Some people want to be debt free. There's lots of different financial goals. And given that it's January, it seems like an ideal time to think about that. So we set the goals, and then the best way to do this is to make it, and people use the acronym SMART. So you want these goals to be specific, you want them to be measurable, you want them to be achievable, you want them to be relevant, and you want them to be time-bound. But really what all that means is you want to define them really clearly. So very specifically, not I would like to have my mortgage paid off someday, but I would like to have my mortgage paid off by January 1st of 2030, or whatever is specific to you. And then you want to make sure that it's achievable, and so it's realistic, because it may not be realistic to have your mortgage paid off by next year. And then relevant to your values. So your values, you want to think, is it really part of my value set to pay off my mortgage really quickly, or is it more important for me right now while my children are little that we take a family vacation every year?
Oh, that's a good
right?
point.
So
right.
you need to think about this.
Right.
And then you also want to put a target date. So you always want to know, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve, so that you can check that off at the end and say, yes, it's been achieved. We paid off that mortgage, or we took that vacation, or whatever that is. So once you've imagined your ideal life, you've picked your goal, or maybe 3 goals at the most. You don't want more than 3 goals. And then you have to decide the baby steps that are going to get there. So if you decide, I want to save $10,000 for a trip to Australia, what are the steps that are going to get you there? And breaking it down. And I feel like a lot of people struggle at this part. They're great at saying, yes, I would like to go to Australia 3 years from now, and it's going to cost me $10,000. But then they don't do the, okay, what can I do today to start myself on this process? So if Australia was the goal, maybe we start doing $300 a month now into a side account that's marked for Australia. And we set that up and we make it systematic, so that it happens automatically and you don't have to think about it. So let's take the Australia goal. We'll say, I want to go to Australia 3 years from now, and it's going to cost me $10,000. So now my next step is I'm going to open up a side account. So now my side account is open. Now my next step is I'm going to set up $150 a month from each paycheck gets transferred automatically. So now I don't really have to do much else. I've set my goal, I've done my baby steps to get there, and now it's kind of on autopilot. So that wasn't that hard to do. Now we just have to stick with it. So then it's the process of checking in on your goal and making sure everything's still on track, and then you've achieved your goal. And it's not that hard if you can break it down in that way. What I find people do is they make their goal, and maybe they get to their baby step, but they don't stay the course for the length of the goal. For me, I'm a huge goal setter. So I have a goal notebook, and every morning I make my tea, and then I write out my goals for the year. And then I make little notes. What's my next step? And then I often review at bedtime. So am I on track? What can I do tomorrow to make sure that this goal happens? And when you're looking at your goals once a day, you're so much further ahead than 95% of the population to start with,
including me, because I daily. Wow, that's Yeah, it makes perfect sense, but I just
but
never really thought
you've
about
achieved goals too. You've
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
done it in the same way, but you just haven't maybe thought about it in this way.
I guess, yeah.
But if you focus
Yeah.
on your goal every single day, the
Yeah.
odds of you achieving it are so much higher. There's all kinds of studies about it. You know, people make New Year's resolutions. That's one group of people. And then there's the people who write down the New Year's resolutions. So that takes you, 10 times more likely to achieve your goals if you actually write them down. And then there's the people who write down the next steps. So then that increases your odds. And then there's the people who write down their goals every day or revisit them in some way. Sometimes some people like to say them out loud, as they drive to work or whatever they do, which is the same concept. So you're revisiting them every day. You're so much more likely. I think that the study is you're 30 times more likely to achieve your goals if you review them once a day.
And if I could add another one, and that would be tell people.
Yes, accountability.
If you tell people, I am going to Australia in
3 years.
in the winter of 2027, January 2027, I am going to be on a plane to Australia, and you tell enough people, then it's kind of an embarrassment thing that you have to go because you could tell people, well, couldn't afford it after all. Yeah, really. Australia, that would be a really nice goal.
It would be.
It would
I'd
be.
like to do that.
So would I, yeah. If you started taking a thermos to work, thermoses, those were those things that we used to, right. Yeah,
we have those.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just in case people have forgotten what a thermos was, brown bagging it instead of buying lunch.
Oh, there's so many ways.
There's just those, and you don't mind because it's not because, oh, poor me, I couldn't afford Starbucks anymore. No, it's your choice to do that, and because you're aiming for something that's going to be really spectacular.
Yeah, no, I actually had a friend who did that, and she would say it out loud in the workplace. She would say, I take my $10 a lunch that I would have spent going out with the people that were all going out every day, and I put it in a fund, and I go to Cuba once a year. And that's my trip, is I miss out on lunch with you people and spending money, but I get to go to Cuba once a year. And she would say it out loud all the time. And that was her choice.
That was her choice, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it different. You haven't had it imposed on you.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you set it automatically, oftentimes you don't even have to make the conscious decision of, I'm going to brown bag it. You just have less money in your bank account. So you spend less, right? It's human nature. If we have $2,000 in our bank account to last us 2 weeks, we spend $2,000. If we have $1,850 to last us 2 weeks, then we'll spend $1,850. And you don't even notice. But then your goal is on track, right?
I remember when I quit smoking many years ago, and one of the
Oh, good for
goals,
you.
2-pack-a-day habit I had at one time, but it was the money, and one of the tricks
yeah.
was every day you put the money that you would have spent buying 2 packs of cigarettes into, you actually, it was back when you dealt more with cash,
Yeah.
back into a jar, and that was, when we went to Portugal on the money.
Oh,
yeah,
that
as
is
a matter of fact,
fantastic.
yeah. But it was tying what I was going through, which was not easy, into having a real goal at the end of it was a reason for going through this, and the money was just one of the motivators.
That's a fantastic story. But I do think you could do that today because it's so easy to transfer online between bank accounts. If you were a 2-pack-a-day person, you could transfer that money to your savings account every day too.
You could do it that way
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, and you could with the lunches and the coffee or anything else that you're spending money on. You don't need to. It's habit. It's more that restaurants are
movies. Yeah, there's lots.
There's a whole bunch
There's
of things.
also canceling your subscriptions to things you're not using anymore.
Oh,
I feel
right,
like that's
yeah.
one of my January things too. I go through all the subscriptions, then I say, are we still using this, and whether that's important or not.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one. And how many streaming services do you really need?
I know.
Right. Oh, I want to see that movie. And you take it and then forget to cancel it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's so much. But so, good advice. You've got books that get into this.
Yes. Financial empowerment for Canadian women certainly has a whole section on goal setting and how to set specific goals, financial goals. It also talks about debt repayment. There's a whole chapter on debt repayment because a lot of people, one of their goals is to pay down debt. So there's lots, and of course about how to pay down your mortgage faster too, which is a big goal for lots of people.
That's huge. And they can get the book through Amazon?
They can get it on Amazon, but Novel Idea Downtown Kingston also carries the book.
Just go in and ask for a book by Laura Southall. You don't have to remember the title, just the name, and we'll be in great shape. Yeah. Well, good seeing you again.
Always good to see you. Take care.
Thanks for coming in.